Hi friends, welcome back and thank you for joining me for part 3 of my Hannibal Lecter series. If you're just joining me and you haven't watched parts 1 or 2, I will link them here and in the description. So far we've covered building your mask in part 1 and painting it in part 2. Today we're going to finish the mask by adding the straps. Let's get to it! Here is a list of the tools and materials you will need for today. When we left off at the end of part 2, we had finished painting the mask and adding the teeth guard. So now it's time to add some straps, so that we can wear it. We never see the back of this mask or really get a good look at the sides, but we can guess based on what we see from the front. There's definitely a strap over the top of the head, and it looks like 3 points on each side where straps attach to the mask. So that's why we left 3 spots where we can glue and not have to worry about the paint peeling off and it not sticking properly. So before I do anything else, I'm going to carefully remove the painter's tape that I've put on the sides. Of course, it's like all painted down. Just carefully lift it up. You might have to like tear your paint a little, but that's fine. Give it. Awesome. Glue is gonna stick to that very well. Just be very careful, like tearing your paint along the edge of your tape line. This is what you should have. You should have some bare foam showing in these 6 places. At this point, I headed to the fabric store to find some belting. Anything close to 3/4 of an inch is going to work. If it's a 1/16 or even an 1/8 off of 3/4 of an inch, it should still be fine. This is not bad. Oh, this is only 1/2 inch. Oh, but it's folded over. Oh, babe.
Look at that, pretty. Look at how nice this
I see it. Oh, this is 1/2 inch. Is this folded over as well? I can't tell. It's got plastic on it. So here's some nice belting. And it is 7/8 of an inch. So I guess I'll try this one. Then I perused the buckles section. I remembered I already had a couple of 3/4 inch buckles, and the fabric store didn't have anything that I liked better, so I decided to just use what I already have. And last, I checked out their Velcro section. I already had a bunch of Velcro at home too, so I didn't end up needing any more of that. So I got some 3/4 inch webbing. I decided to go with something that was sort of substantial looking. I want people to see that it's there and see that it's part of the mask. I don't think the straps are supposed to be invisible, even though in the film you really only see the front of his face. He never turns his head to the side. There's like one shot as the camera is pushing in on him. You can see almost, it's not even a 3/4, but it's almost a 3/4. So you see the left side of his face and you see a little bit of what's going on the side of the mask. But then all the other shots are almost directly straight on. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but in Silence of the Lambs, they do a lot of shots where the character is talking straight into the camera, and it makes you feel like you're in the film because it makes you feel like the character that they are talking to, which is one of my favorite things about the cinematography in Silence of the Lambs. They do that a lot. If you haven't seen the film in a while, and you want to rewatch it, pay attention to how many times the camera is straight on at the actor's face and the character is talking straight into the camera. It's kind of cool. We can see in the film that the straps on his mask are black, and then there's like some pieces on the side that look like they're for adjusting. I'm going to do something a little different to make my life easier, and anybody else who wants to make this mask, I didn't want to make it super complicated. So this part will not be screen accurate. So the first strap is going to go from these top points on the sides of the mask. It's going to go over the top of the head, and that's going to keep the mask from sliding down. And then there's going to be a strap that is going to connect the second points across the back of the head, crisscross down to the third points, and then that will cross straight behind the head. So you're going to end up with this crisscrossing pattern of webbing that goes over the top and around down the back of the head. And so that's going to keep the mask from sliding down, it's going to keep it from flopping around, etc. The first strap I'm going to do is the one that goes over the top of the head. So I've got my mask, I've got my 3/4 inch webbing. I also have left over from another project some of these metal D-rings, which I think are maybe going to come in handy. I haven't quite figured out how I'm doing this yet. I'm sort of making it up as I go. And then I also have these, they call them parachute buckles. I have a couple of different sizes, but these are 3/4 inch. I also have some Velcro. This is double-sided Velcro, so it just comes in one piece, as opposed to not double-sided, but single-sided Velcro, where one side has the hooks and the other side has the loops, and then the back side is just smooth. This is like a double-sided Velcro, which is less sticky, which I think is what I want, because I don't want to have to pull very hard if I do want to undo the straps that are being held on by the Velcro. The hooks are on one side, and then the loops are on the other side. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut some squares of Velcro. I need 6 squares of Velcro. It's 3/4 inch Velcro, so I'm going to cut the lengths to be 3/4 of an inch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Are they getting bigger? It looks like they're getting bigger, but I can always trim them down. 5, 6. Trusty contact cement. Again, give it a shake. I'm going to put contact cement straight on the Velcro. Okay, let that sit. Get off. Oh, I needed 12 squares. He was running in his sleep. Sweet boy. Now I'm just going to press the little squares of Velcro onto the mask. Well, like that. Be sure you're happy with where you're putting them, because you can't pull this back off. I mean, you can, but don't. You know. About here. So about like that. Let's do the other side. So I really want it to be as symmetrical as possible. I can either open it up and do this, or I can kind of bend it around like that and work on it. Just going to bend this around. Feels good. Beautiful. So now I've got my Velcro squares in place on the mask. So now I'm going to cut Velcro squares for the webbing. I'm going to make sure those are nice and pressed on there. Set that aside. Now we'll cut 6 more of these Velcro squares. Okay. Beautiful. I'm going to take the tape off of the end of this carefully so I don't unravel it. Give it a little trim. My fuzzies. Okay, I know my webbing is going to unravel if I don't do something about the end. I'm just going to put some contact cement on the end. I'm going to fold it twice, rolling it over onto itself. Go like that. Watch out for the fraying. If you have a sewing machine or needle and thread, you can just fold it over and stitch it in place. Fold it over onto itself like this. So that will dry nicely, I think. Kinda smoosh it a bit. Give it a little bit of oomph. Okay. I've got the end wrapped over and I've got my little piece of Velcro on here. You hold the mask up to yourself. The top of your mask is right up here, and we want our buckle to sit somewhere up top. Let's go ahead and open up these parachute buckles. So it's going to sit somewhere up on top. It doesn't need to be centered. So the top of the mask is about here. And I want it to be able to fold back over. So I'm just going to give myself a little extra. Yep, that is plenty of extra. So this piece ended up being 2, 4, 6, 7 inches. Okay, so we're just going to cut our webbing. Okay. Alright, and now make sure that you're on the correct side. Here's the piece of Velcro right here. So that's going to be on the inside. So we're just going to slide this in here like that. So that's the first part of one strap. Looks pretty cool. So this would go right here, boop, like this, and go over the head like this. Cool. Did I mention I'm making this part up as I go? Because I am. You can either keep using your contact cement, or you could even use fabric glue. I'm going to switch over to fabric glue just for funsies. Yes, I said funsies. For this side, I'm going to do the same thing, except I know I want to fold it over the opposite way. I'm going to use this side to adjust how loose or tight the mask is on top. I do want it to come to at least the top of my head again, but I want it to have enough room once it's in the buckle, and I think the end of my buckle's right about here. I want it to have room to fold back a little bit, and if I need to trim it shorter, I can. You can't make it longer, but you can make it shorter. So I think if I give myself about this much room, well, that's way too much, more like here, give myself enough room to fold it back, something like that. How long is this one? Oh, I think we could do 7 inches again even. Let's make it 8. So let's make it 8 inches. I do want this end of this piece. I'm just going to thread it through right here, like that. and then thread it through the second part like that. And now that is how it's going to be adjustable. Beautiful. Great. So now we can connect this piece right here. Ta-da! And there's the top clip. Ooh, ah. So this is what we have so far. This one on top, I'll be able to tighten it, and that is just gonna help it. Oh, I'm so excited! Look at it! That makes me very happy. For this next step, you can do whatever you like. If this crisscross design is a little daunting, you could just repeat the process for that first strap 2 more times. Keep in mind, you would need 3 buckles total instead of 2. I decided to use the metal D-rings I showed you earlier and attached them to short pieces of webbing. Then I added the 4 remaining Velcro squares to these short pieces. I just feel like this is going to help my mask look more like an authentic device. I only had 2 D-rings left over from another project, so I repurposed 2 other metal rings I had laying around. So I'm going to take my webbing, crisscross back and forth across the back of the mask, and finish it off with 1 more parachute buckle. Yay! I glued one end of the belting to keep it from fraying and laced the back of the mask. This will allow me to get an idea of how long this piece of belting needs to be before I cut it. At this point, I realized I should have laced it with the opening at the bottom, so I redid it. I also added the buckle to one end before I realized my camera had stopped recording. So I just tried it on, and I tested out my strap design on the back, and I figured out where I want to cut the webbing so that it fits me well. Of course, you can do whatever works for you. If this is too complicated for you, don't stress out about it. Honestly, you could glue some ties on these spots and just tie it in 3 places. You know, tie it once over your head and then tie it twice behind your head, and that would be perfectly fine. I'm just doing this because I wanted it to be as close to screen accurate as possible, and I wanted it to look authentic from the front and from the back. So do not stress if this is too complicated for you. It's a little complicated for me. I'm getting a little mad at it, but it's okay. I think it's going to be worth it when I get it right. So I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that I did this right, and I'm going to cut the webbing at the length that I need, attach it to the other side of the buckle, and put it on. Okay, there it is. Moment of truth. I am gonna go ahead and loosen that all the way. Okay, loosen that. So here we go. Get those down over my ears. So I know I've got a buckle over here. Tighter this way, And then this one comes and clips in the back. And then I pull it tight and then get it situated. Let me turn around so that you can see the back. Yeah. Alright. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Yay! So smooth. Well, there it is, folks. I am digging the sides. I am really very happy with how the sides came out. Now here's the thing, and this is why I did this. It's like easy on, easy off. You could get it to the size that you want and then use the Velcro to get in and out of it. Insert exhausted celebratory pushback from the table here. And that's it for part 3. If all you wanted was to make the mask, then congratulations, you did it! But if you want to make the rest of the costume, then join me next week for part 4, where we create the orange jumpsuit. Have a beautifully spooky day. See you next time. There's all of my materials. How have I been recording for 11 minutes? So at this point, I headed to the fabric store to find some... And then that will cross... I already had some wet... I know my unwebbing... Hilarious.